Racing today as we prepare for the IRL's Belterra Resorts Indy 300. That coming up in about a half hour. Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins. A lot to bring you up to date on in the next half hour. First of all, the latest condition on Jason Priestley, who was injured here, warming up for the Infinity Pro Series race. He has been upgraded to serious but stable condition. Sarah Fisher yesterday made history by becoming the first woman in history to win the pole position for a major open wheel race. We'll talk with her. In the next half hour, Jack Arute will have an exclusive and a very emotional interview with Al Unser Jr., who returns to activity here today after a stay in a treatment abuse center.
I am Al, and I'm a grateful alcoholic, and I'm grateful for all the things that I have in my future.
And also the story of the most recent winner of the Indy Racing League, Thomas Scheckter, who won that spectacular race in Michigan last weekend. He's been quite busy. On Friday night, he threw out the first pitch at the Cincinnati Reds baseball game against the San Diego Padres. Although last Sunday at Michigan was his first win, he has led an incredible number of laps this year and has been close to victory on several occasions. But Jack Arute, he has his work cut out for him today.
Indeed he does, Bob Jenkins. Qualified 17th. What happened in qualifications, Thomas?
I don't know. I think I should have been in the wall twice in qualifying. We made a couple of setup changes, and we couldn't change it in the queues. So, but we'll get back up there in the front. Maybe not as quick as Michigan, but we'll get there.
In fact, let's talk about Michigan for a moment. How good was that Michigan race? According to Michigan track officials, they received more emails, more phone calls, more letters, more phone messages talking about that race than any event in their 34-year history.
Launch now, launch now.
Oh, Pancho Carter says launch now. Green comes out, and there goes Sharp, and there goes DeFerrin. They go three wide into one. Here comes Giafoni and Catherine Evans down low.
Was the time I faltered. Now I'm finally back on track.
Sarah Fisher works on Scott Sharp. Scheckter, by the way, is now in 10th.
Look at this, Paul. 3 abreast, and everybody's fanned out. Almost touching wheels going into one.
Hit the open road. I hear the highway call my name.
And look down low there. Oh, yeah. Scheckter now up to 7th.
The asphalt's in my blood.
Sarah Fisher trying to get the lead from Giafoni down the back stretch, side by side. And Sarah Fisher comes to the front. Oh, yeah. Giafoni comes back at her.
If I didn't know better, I'd say those two touched.
Well, you can't say they're not trying.
No.
Go there. Go there.
3 wide through the turn, Paul.
Go there. 3 wide.
Giafoni.
Inside. Inside.
Think about it. Their heart rate's probably about 180 beats a minute right now.
But look down on the inside. Scheckter has just joined this fight as he goes for 3rd. Oh, do you believe this? Oh, yeah. Fisher, Hornish, Renna. This is terrific. Fisher comes back at Renna. They know they're watching a finish. 7 to go. Scheckter tries for the lead. Eddie Cheever's still watching from the pits. Look at that smile. And here comes Thomas Scheckter. Oh, yeah. Now, Thomas Scheckter has won the inaugural run for the Indy Racing League at Michigan International.
And prominent in that breathtaking mix of the final laps at Michigan, of course, was this young woman, Sarah Fisher. And Sarah, what did it do for your confidence, your team's confidence, to be running for the lead in those late laps?
Well, it did a lot for our confidence. You know, I lost my confidence last year, and we've been struggling really hard this year. It's been an awfully long year, but we've got it back, and hopefully we can produce the same results we did yesterday today.
And you come back 2 weeks later, and here you are breaking some history now, starting this race in the pole position. A lot of pressure there. How'd you sleep last night?
Slept good. It's just like another midget race to me.
The fact that you had a 3rd place finish here, your best IRL finish 2 years ago, What does that mean, if anything, as far as today's race that's about to unfold?
I think everything's different. Every race is different. They repaved the track since I finished third 2 years ago, and we've got a completely different team with Team Smart Blade, and all the guys are really working well together, and I think we can pull it off.
We're looking forward to it. Be safe. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bob?
All right, Gary. Well, coming up in our next segment, we'll visit with Buddy Rice, who had an outstanding IRL debut at Michigan 2 weeks ago. Jason Priestley was injured in a crash during Infinity Pro Series practice this morning. He was airlifted to the University of Kentucky Trauma Center, but he has been upgraded to serious but stable condition from critical.
Welcome back to Indy Racing today. Now, this gentleman, Buddy Rice, used a terrific run at Michigan International Speedway to get himself a ride in the Red Bull Infinity team here in Kentucky. How much has your stock, Buddy Rice, gone up since that incredible finish at Michigan?
It definitely hasn't hurt my stock at all, and I think after the way everything's been going, all the phone calls we've been getting, obviously it's gone up quite a bit.
Buddy Rice qualified 6th for today's race, and for a look at the remainder of the starting grid, here's Bob Jenkins.
Jack, 19 drivers broke the previous track record. They were led by Sarah Fisher, her first pole. Billy Boats alongside in row 1. Going to row number 2, Felipe Giafoni equals his best qualifying ever of the season. Elio Castro-Neves also in row 2. The third row, Sam Hornish Jr. and Buddy Rice, who ran second at Michigan in his IRL debut. Row 4, Eddie Cheever Jr., who finished 4th here 2 years ago, and Richie Hearn. In row number 5, Buddy Lazier going for a Kentucky three-peat, and Gilles de Ferran. Row number 6, Raul Boisel and Tony Renna, who finished a strong 4th at Michigan. Row 7, Vitor Mira, former Formula 3 champion, and Al Unser Jr. In the 8th row, Laurent Redon and Alex Barron, the winner at Nashville last month. The 9th row, Thomas Schechter coming off a thrilling victory at Michigan along with Greg Ray. The 10th row, Will Langhorne, the Virginia youngster making his first IRL start, and Robbie Buell. The 11th row, Scott Sharp and Ayrton Darray, who scored his first career win last month in Kansas. The 12th row, Jeff Ward, the winner at Texas in June, and George Mack. And all alone in row number 13, Eliseo Salazar making his third start here at Kentucky.
And Bob, back up to that front row. Outside front row, Billy Boat. Running in Michigan 2 weeks ago, 2-mile super speedway. Infinity horsepower advantage, fairly obvious. Will we see more of the same on the 1.5 mile here today in Kentucky?
Well, this is definitely, I think, more of a handling racetrack than Michigan was. It's going to be, the racetrack has been changing throughout the weekend. It was completely different for qualifying yesterday. Horsepower is always important, but probably the best handling car is going to win today.
Now, right alongside you, Sarah Fisher, first time for her to pace a field. Are there any apprehensions or concerns for you and your team?
No, I mean, Sarah's experienced. Sarah and I talked. She's ready to do what she earned, and you know, she knows there's 24 guys barreling down there behind her. So I'm sure I don't anticipate any problems. We'll bring them down, and you know, we'll have a good race, get the first lap under us, and then go racing.
Key for you to become a 9th different winner this year on this day?
Key for us is execution in the pits. I think we've got a good race car. We need to execute in the pits, not make any mistakes, and we'll have a good shot to win this race.
He makes it sound so simple. Wish you well, Billy.
Thank you.
Well, Gary, you want to talk about simple. Consider the fact that Buddy Lazier came here back in the year 2000 and won. So then what did Buddy Lazier and his crew do last year? Came back to Kentucky yet again, and in an exciting finish, won again. In fact, Buddy Lazier is the only driver to have ever won an IRL race here at the Kentucky Speedway. But let's compare his performance in those 2 years to this year, and you can see there's a lot of zeros. Things have not gone well for Buddy Lazier. But today, Buddy, it's got to feel good to be at a track that you have dominated since it joined the circuit.
Yeah, and we last year this was the 4th out of 5 that we are 5 races in a row. We won 4 of them. So looking back on those other race tracks that we did good last year, we haven't this year. The team, the whole effort has struggled, and we're trying to find that elusive speed. We got 4 races left in the championship, and we want to march our way. We want to march our way to the front and get back to our winning ways. We're working real hard, and it's been a good weekend so far.
Yeah, let's talk about this racetrack. What do you think it takes to win? You're the only guy that's done it.
Well, if there was a magic bullet, which there isn't, I certainly wouldn't share it with anyone. But, you know, it's a little bit of a bumpy racetrack, but now they've repaved it. It's a beautiful facility, but, you know, you just got to be patient and have a really good car in traffic.
That's the key. What does it take to win? Buddy Lazier may be mum on the issue, but we thought we'd check in with his peers.
To win here in Kentucky is going to take a good race car more so than horsepower, and you're going to have to be there at the end.
First, I think you're going to have to last it because it's going to be really hard.
Everybody knows the fast line is on the inside, but the key to winning is probably being able to pass on the outside.
Pit stops, the strategy, all that's going to play into it. I just think more than anything last year, protecting the bottom at this track became really important.
You're in the corner a long time here, there's not a lot of straightaway, so you're going to need to have a car that works on the bottom because the top groove seems to be the preferred groove.
It's going to be my first race. I don't know yet, but one thing I know, I mean, determination, patience, definitely is going to pay off during the race, and hopefully going to have all this combination, and who knows, maybe we're going to climb the fence.
Well, who will be the winner? Stay with us for the action, and you can get a recap on RPM tonight. All the motorsports news you need weeknights, hosted by John Kernan at 6:30 Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Jim Crawford, an 8-time Indy 500 starter, died last week in Florida. The Scotsman retired from racing after failing to qualify for the 1995 Indy 500, and he became a fishing boat captain in the St. Petersburg, Florida area. Jim is survived by his wife Annie and son Jeffrey. He was 54 years of age. Back here live at Kentucky Speedway, getting set for the 12th Indy Racing League event of the year. Now, although 15 drivers are still mathematically in the championship battle, it's basically boiled down to 4. Sam Hornish Jr. is behind the 2 Marlboro Team Penske drivers, and Felipe Giafoni is only 47 points behind. Now, there are 4 races to go, including this one, with a maximum of 52 points per race available to a driver if they win and lead the most laps. Now, points are awarded to every starter, but a bad outing for any of the 4 could have major consequences. But, Gary, the Marlboro Team Penske drivers have faltered very little this season.
Boy, they've been rock solid, Bob. Roger Penske coming into the IRL. His drivers 1 and 2 in the championship points chase. The call has just gone out for the drivers to get into their cars. Roger is here. My question would be, in these final 3 races with the championship on the line, do you change your approach or your strategy at all from what we saw early in the season?
Well, I think the most important thing is reliability. I talked to both drivers before the race. I said, look, you're racing each other. On the other hand, we've got cars behind us. We got Hornish, we got Giafoni. But finishing is so critical today in these series, and we've had a great finishing record, and I hope today we're going to continue that because it's awful important to stay on top.
Roger, I think this is the 6th brand new racetrack to your team this year. I know that you always strive for perfection, but has this club, your organization, surprised you in the way they've been able to step up and answer this challenge repeatedly?
Well, Gary, we've had a chance to practice on these tracks, so we didn't come here completely cold. But again, until you get into race conditions, the night race has been different to us because the track temperature changes. But today, it's a racetrack I think you got a handle around here. The boys qualified pretty well. Elio was up front. I take my hat off to Sarah Fisher. She did a terrific job. And certainly Infinity Motors, I hear my friend Cheever always talking about all our PR people. I like to have one of his engines.
Does the horsepower advantage concern you?
Well, they've got a nice horsepower advantage, and the good thing they have is reliability.
All right. Well, we'll see how it all plays out for Roger Penske and his drivers, Castroneves and DeFerrin. Jack?
Well, Gary, how do you catch Marlboro Team Penske? Most likely keep doing what the followers have been doing, and that's closing the gap. Castroneves has faded just a bit, and 3rd and 4th have stayed and kept the pace with the leader. We're talking about 4 races, including this one, and a pool of points of 208 points still available. This battle is going right down to the finale in Texas. For 4th place finisher in the point standings thus far, Felipe Giafoni, maybe the big stumbling block is you are not one of the 8 winners we've had so far.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've been very consistent, but we couldn't put a win together. And maybe this is going to be the day. The car seems to be really good, but I really think to win the championship, we got to at least win a race.
Sam Hornish Jr., you are the defending IRL champion. How sideways does it stick in your craw that you're not leading this points chase?
After the first 3 races of the season, things were looking very good, as far as all the same. But, had a 3 races where we stumbled a little bit. Went into Richmond, 61 points behind. We're now 18. So, we just keep clawing away at a little bit more, and we know it doesn't matter till the last lap of Texas. You just got to be ahead there.
Is there an X factor, something that people don't pay attention to that makes the difference between not winning a championship and winning a championship?
You can be consistent, and you know, somebody can click off some wins and be able to beat you by doing that, or you can, you know, be consistent and win. It's just, there's so many different ways that it can happen, and it all depends on each day. So we just have to keep trying to finish in front of those red and white cars.
All right, your crews are calling you to your cars. It's time to strap in and get ready for the first of 4 final races. A reminder, you're going to be able to see that race on ABC Sports at the bottom of the hour. All of the exciting action from the Kentucky Speedway available with Bob Jenkins, Scott Goodyear, myself, and Gary Gerald, starting at 1:30 Eastern Time, right here from Kentucky Speedway. Now, earlier this week, Al Unser Jr. was taken from rehabilitation and released, and I had the opportunity to sit down and have an extended conversation with Al about his battle with alcoholism. That coming up on the other side.
It was my fault. It wasn't my girlfriend. My girlfriend was scared to death on the side of a freeway. And, you know, I feel so bad about that. I have some issues. I have a problem that I need to understand. Why does it keep happening to me? You know, when I can quit drinking and then feel good about myself, and then all of a sudden, you know, I can have one drink, and then in a couple days later I can have a couple more, and then, you know, all of a sudden I'm becoming unpredictable in my drinking, where, you know, I never knew what was going to happen after I had a couple drinks. Was I going to go home and get a good night's sleep, or, you know, was I going to go out and close the bar? I am Al, and I'm a grateful alcoholic, and I'm grateful for all the things that I have in my future. On the other hand, there's some things that I've done that are just insane. There was never, ever a time that it was even thought of to be under the influence of anything. You know, when you're behind that wheel, you have to be there fully concentrating, or you will get hurt faster than it takes you to get in that car. This is the race of my life, and I'm doing it one lap at a time, and I've won races. I've won races my whole life, and I'm going to win this one.
So, Al, how good does it feel to get back in a race car?
It feels really good, Jack. I mean, it's been a while, and what can I say? You know, watching it on TV, it doesn't feel very good, but back in the seat, we're right back in the saddle again, and it feels great.
Can you win today?
Sure, we can win it. We're in it, so, you know, anything can happen. I got the best team with the Corteco Bryant special, and so it's going to take teamwork, good stops, and good consistency, and I feel great about it.
Gary, what about the guy that filled in for an absent Al Unser Jr.?
Well, for Tony Renna, what a marvelous opportunity. It started at Nashville with a 10th place finish, and then 2 weeks ago at Michigan, there he is in the 4th spot when the checkered came down after all that exciting racing. Are you at all surprised that the Kelly team dug down and said, we're going to make this a 3-car effort the rest of the way?
It certainly is a bit of a treat for me, Gary. You know, we had been kind of discussing the idea of running maybe the last race at Texas, maybe the last 2, prior to the events at Nashville and at Michigan. So to come in here and be able to get the full season, you know, it's really showed what kind of organization Kelly is to be able to do this on very short notice, to get a 3rd car with a great crew of guys. You know, we're very fortunate to have the Cruz Foundation on board with us. And, you know, again, the Kelly organization is just one that really stepped up to the plate and made this happen. So a bit of a surprise, but, you know, we were hoping this was going to happen all along.
And, folks, let me tell you, he was fastest in the morning warm-up session. Keep an eye on number 78. Now, they've resurfaced this racetrack, and it's only a 3-year-old race facility. That's a bit of a surprise. But since they've resurfaced, it means that crews now have a little different opportunity in setting up their race cars. And that's the subject of At the Track this week with Scott Goodyear.
The Kentucky Motor Speedway opened in the spring of 2000 and was an instant hit with the IRL drivers. This 70-foot wide racing surface creates some great wheel-to-wheel racing lap after lap, which put on a great show for the spectators. My pole speed here in 2000 was over 219 miles an hour. But unfortunately, Mother Nature was not that kind to the track over the winter, creating a very bumpy racing surface. Pole speed in 2001 was just under 215 miles an hour. Management responded by paving the track for the second time in 2 years and creating a very smooth racing surface. Speeds are now 221, 222 miles an hour, and the drivers are back in love with the racetrack. But this has created a lot of work for the engineers. Engineers had many different adjustments to make on this new smooth Kentucky racetrack. Front and rear wings are adjustable, and they also have to work with the springs and the shocks and the anti-roll bar. Now the drivers also have adjustments when they're driving during the race. Those roll bars are adjustment not only in front, but also on the rear. Now the drivers who make the best adjustments inside the cockpit, along with the engineers' adjustments, might find themselves in the winner's circle at the end of the day.
All right, thank you, Scott. Well, here's a preview of what we might see here today on that smoother surface as we go back to last year's race.
Miles an hour, driving as close as you do to the people around you when you're on the freeway. This is unreal.
Well, when you think about that race last year and what can happen today, it should be spectacular. The focus now, as Bob Jenkins mentioned earlier, begins to shift a little bit, especially for those guys who are in the championship fight.
Paul, it's a very tough mindset for the drivers and crews out there today. The pressure is on. Drivers have to find that balance between aggression and patience so they have a chance at winning this race. The crews have to have flawless pit stops to maybe get their driver out in front of the other teams. But for sure, the champion pressure is on every team today.
And Bob Jenkins, I think that means nothing but pressure and competition.
And the start of the race is coming up in just a few moments. The Belterra Resort Indy 300 next over on ABC Sports at the bottom of the hour. Coming up next here on ESPN2, ESPN Magazine Sports Reporters. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. I'm Bob Jenkins, live at Kentucky Speedway, and before we do anything else, we want to bring you the latest on actor Jason Priestley, who was injured while warming up for his 4th Infiniti Pro Series race here earlier today. His car made heavy contact with the wall in turn number 2, and he was taken from the car and then airlifted to the University of Kentucky Trauma Center, where he is undergoing treatment at this time. Jason had qualified second fastest for today's race at nearly 180 miles an hour. We get the latest on his condition from Jack Arute, who is with the director of the IRL Medical Services, Dr. Henry Bach.
Dr. Bach, can you give us the latest update on Jason?
As you know, Jason suffered a very severe crash out here. Jason suffered a head injury, to which now he is responding. He's got fractures of both of his feet and a small fracture of his spine. But right now he's responding and his vital signs are stable.
Thank you, Dr. Bach. Bob?
Well, we wish him the best. And of course, big news here yesterday as Sarah Fisher made history by becoming the first woman in history to qualify for the pole position for a major open wheel race. And so we welcome you to our live coverage of the Belterra Resort Indy 300 for the Indy Racing League, the 12th of 15 races this season. Now here's the starting lineup for today's race. Sarah Fisher wins the pole in her 29th career start. You see her there as the engines have been started, and she is ready to pull away and get ready for the green flag. Billy Bode has his second front row start in the last 3 races. Row 2, 2 of the top 4 in the point standings. The defending series champion and the second place finisher at Michigan are in row 3. Row 4, Eddie Cheever and Richie Hearn. In the 5th row, Buddy Lazier undefeated here, and points leader Gilles de Ferrin. The 6th row, Raul Boisel and Tony Retta. The 7th row, a newcomer and Little Al back after treatment in a substance abuse center. Laurent Redon and Alex Barron in row 8. Thomas Schechter, winner 2 weeks ago, and Greg Ray have a long way to go from row 9. The 10th row, another newcomer and Robbie Buell. Scott Sharp has his worst start of the year. Ayrton Darway is alongside. Jeff Ward and George Mack make up row number 12, and Eliseo Salazar is at the tail of the field. Paul Page and Scott Goodyear are ready to call the action. Gentlemen,
on what is a truly historic day. Arlene Hiss was the first to drive one of these cars. It was 25 years ago that Janet Guthrie first qualified for the Indianapolis 500. And now it's Sarah Fisher on the pole. That's historic.
And Paul, she's on the pole, and she actually broke my 2-year-old track record to do that. 221 miles an hour. She has 24 drivers behind her that want to get to the turn 1 before she does. She's done a great job. She's got a lot of confidence right now. I spoke to her this morning. She feels very, very good. She thinks she can win this race.
Didn't just break it, shattered it. But Jackaroo, the weekend hasn't been completely smooth for Sarah.
No, Paul. In the final practice session earlier today, Sarah Fisher's engine began to develop some smoke, an oil leak. The crew went to work, examined it. They did discover a faulty oil fitting. Rather than changing out the entire engine, they've elected to keep the one that put her on the pole and just change the fitting. There is, though, some uncertainty, Gary, and that'll certainly add to the excitement of this race.
Jack, you talk about excitement. What a year it's already been when you consider 8 different pole winners, 8 consecutive different winners. And take this into consideration today. Of the top 9 qualifiers, 7 of them are drivers who have not won yet this year. So we've got a legitimate shot at adding a new name to that list with Sarah Fisher and Billy Boat, prominent, of course, up in row number 1. Paul?
Now the field has already started to roll behind the pace car. The Chevrolet Corvette pace car picks up Sarah Fisher in the front of the field. Billy Boat, of course, will start alongside. Air temperature up at 88 degrees. We're expecting 3 to 4 pit stops today, depending on the number of cautions, and tire wear is very much a concern on this 1.5-mile oval.
And Paul, there has been some issues with tires. We've mentioned that this track is a brand new paved track, tearing these tires up sometimes throughout the turns. These guys got to get through a full fuel segment to be able to obviously get to the end of their run. That's a concern for them right now. There has actually been a lot of tires going through some blistering segments right now. Drivers will have to take care of their equipment today.
And there is our Firestone winners cam. On board, of course, Thomas Schechter, who had that tremendous run 2 weeks ago at Michigan in the final segment, going all the way back to 12th and then coming forward for the victory, bringing rookie Buddy Rice along with him. And we hope to be able to talk to both Thomas Schechter and Scott Sharp today. On board Vitor Meira's car and Sam Hornish's machine. Al Unser Jr. is back, and we're back with him. And there is Scott Sharp, on board camera coverage there as well. So ready now to go green. And there is a picture for the history books. Fisher in front, leading the field to the green flag. Green flag is out. Sarah Fisher stays low. She said as far as she's concerned, this is just another midget start. Referring, of course, to her years in midget racing. Well, Billy Boat came out of that same background as well. And now he tries to look to the inside, but he is not going to take this first lap away from Fisher. 2 Penske cars work the high side of Felipe Giafone, trying to get around and have to duck in behind. Now Giafone makes a move for second place on Billy Boat.
Still very early in the race, Paul, but she's got a nice lead, did a beautiful start, went through the gearbox correctly, did her points on the turns, and accelerated perfectly. You couldn't ask for anything more.
Battle is back here as the Penske cars start to move. Casper Neves and Gil de Ferran, and we understand that they are going to display a black flag to Thomas Schechter for jumping on the start.
Now the rule, Paul, right there on the start of the race, you are not allowed to improve your position on the initial start until you pass the starting line. The white line we see right there, the white, yellow, and blue checkered line. Now on a restart it is different. On a restart, you are allowed to go as soon as the green flag is displayed. Drivers know when the green flag is displayed by radio contact, either with their pits or with their spotters. If Thomas Schechter's going to have to come in, it's because he passed before he got to the green flag.
And you see Schechter already turning onto the pit road. And we'll go back and show you the start itself. On board with Schechter.
He's passing cars, Paul, and the green line's right over here. And sure enough, he went past it before he got past the line.
And so penalty to our most recent race winner, and that'll put him well behind the field already. In fact, as the field comes around, he's going to go a lap down. Fisher, Giafone, Boat. Castroneves and DeFerrin working on Rice.
You saw them going 3 wide, Rice all the way down on the apron of the racetrack as we watched Thomas Schechter coming out of the pit lane. As Paul mentioned, he's already a lap down. And that's really defeating, especially when you just won the race last week at Michigan.
Castroneves and Buddy Rice go wheel to wheel. Some interesting moves on the start. Buell really jumped up. So did Unser Jr., Barron. So plenty of cars on the move in this field. While at the same time, well, Schechter, we know why he's back there. That's the penalty. And that penalty did put him now officially a lap behind the race. Here comes DeFerrin. Sam Hornish is now sitting back, trying to make his moves. He does so on Cheever.
Now, a lot of these guys, Paul, will be actually trying to get used to the racetrack. The racetrack had a lot of different rubber on it from a race they had yesterday with some stock cars. And a lot of guys had some problems with in qualifying. Matter of fact, most of the lineup in qualifying yesterday opted to pull out of their spot and take a run later in the time allotted. That's because the rubber on the track is not very suitable to these cars and these tires. So sure enough, what a lot of guys did is got out of line, qualified later. You saw a lot of guys move up in the queue already so far at the beginning of this race. It's because they didn't have a good qualifying run, but they got a very strong car.
DeFerrin tried Buddy Rice, but he couldn't do it, and now he's fallen into the clutches of Sam Hornish Jr.
Watch how smooth his hands are as he's just driving along. He's getting a tow right now, getting a draft, and he'll try and slipstream past him. Going to try him on the high side.
Sam Hornish moves high. And that looked pretty easy for Hornish as he went around Jill DeFerrin. And so it's Sarah Fisher at 217 miles an hour leading the field in Kentucky. Fisher, Giafone, Boat, 1, 2, 3, and there is the separation on the track itself as you watch Sarah Fisher. History in the making. Laps at 217, 217.3 last couple of times around. Though back in the field, we've seen some spectacularly faster laps. Renna at 219.12.
Now, Paul, that might be because when you get an opportunity to run in the draft, you get a lot of faster speeds. And what those guys in the back, they need that to be able to actually move their way up through the field.
Rice and Castroneves continue to work. We want to try and help you with the identity on these cars with a special consideration of the Red Bull team of Eddie Cheever. When you look at Rice, the number is 53. It is in white, and when you see it head on, you'll see some white vertical stripes by the intake. That should help you with that car.
Rice doing a great job working on Castroneves. You saw him pick up the draft, just going in the turn, slipstream underneath him, get on the low line, which is the preferred line, the faster line, got the move done.
Rice with plenty of experience out of the Toyota Atlantic Series. Jack?
Yes, Paul, but he doesn't have a guarantee of a ride beyond this race. He converted his second place finish at Michigan for another audition with Eddie Cheever Jr.'s Red Bull team. But I talked to him before the race, and he said, I've got to wait every Monday to see if I get a call from Eddie. Meanwhile, Greg Ray has encountered a problem. He has gotten out of the car. The word from A.J. Foyt's Harris team, an engine is malfunctioned.
So now Greg Ray out of the race. Schechter a lap behind the field because of his penalty. And you're on board with Al Unser Jr., who has been a remarkable story. He hit bottom 3.5 weeks ago. Admitted he had an abuse problem, checked himself into an abuse center, is now back out, and looks terrific. And let's hope that it stays with him. showing you the last lap speed. They are turning some incredible laps here, especially considering a mile and a half around.
Mile and a half around, Paul. Hot temperatures, obviously a lot of track temperature we saw earlier on, 128 degrees. These guys, like I mentioned, need to be concerned about their tires. Right now, they're getting a chance to feel their car out, communicating with their pits, telling them what they're going to do, because on the first stop, if there's changes needed, if the car's not turning right, has a handling problem, they'll make those changes during the first pit stop.
Well, for Sarah Fisher, the average speed through her first 32 miles, 215.7, that's average speed. Again, back in the field, some cars have been turning laps above 219, but look at the separation. Almost 4 seconds from Sarah Fisher back to second place, Giafone, and this takes you back further. Billy Boat and Sam Hornish Jr. Sam Hornish Jr. now trying to close on Boat. Jack?
Greg Ray, we know the front on the racetrack.
Car in trouble. That's Hearn. That brings out the caution. A lot of damage to the right side of that car, Scott.
Absolutely. It looks like he didn't have any spin. It looked like he just took it all the way up to the wall.
Gilda Farron on the pit road, and we're not sure why.
And Paul, you look in the front of the car right there. On the front wing, you actually have some rubber
Can you
right
make
there.
it around okay? Can you get around?
Contact has been made. You see him weaving the car right now.
Let's fix what it is. Let's fix what it is.
He's trying to see if the car has an alignment problem or a handling problem.
Now, he'll be coming in under the closed pit rule, though.
He's coming in the closed pit rule.
Rod.
But the damage.
What's wrong with the car? Tell us what's wrong with the car.
You heard the word track rod. Now he's doing that. He's not out of control. He's trying to figure out if the car is going to turn evenly left to right so he can communicate with the pit. You see the car's having a hard time turning.
And they're not in a gigantic hurry to work on that one. So we'll see what they determine. And in the meantime, we can go back and he's take me out of here.
Well, that's the championship leader right now, guys, and that's a big blow.
On board Al Unser Jr. here, Scott.
Riding along, we're going to look up ahead and see if something happens there. There's some contact right there, and you can see Hearn going up towards the wall. Now, obviously, both drivers are looking for the same piece of real estate, just some contact with Gilles de Ferran on the right-hand side that you saw, and we saw him coming in.
Now, looking at it from the first angle.
Yes, you can see the contact happening right now with Richie Hearn into the wall. He was probably on the outside, and usually as it happens, if there's contact, the guy on the outside usually loses that battle and that fight. Gilles de Ferran obviously is going to come in and see if he can get the car repaired. You can see he just hit there and how hard that hit is. Remember, these guys are going around here, Paul, at 215, 16 miles an hour average. Going into the turn, probably over 220. So he probably just hit about 210 or 12 miles an hour.
And it really looked like Gilles de Ferran was struggling to control his car as he came by.
He was, and they were right in the center of the turn. So obviously they're both trying to get through the center of the turn at the same time.
Gary Gerald, how bad is de Ferran's car?
Well, it's bad enough, Paul, that he has come out of the car, and he's unbuckling the helmet here as he stands on the scoring stand alongside Roger Penske, and the crew is assessing the suspension damage on the right front. There was a huge dark mark on the front of the wing we could see as he rolled in very slowly, and they apparently have made the decision they're going to try to fix the repair and get him back out, keeping in mind that the two Penske drivers, de Ferran and Castroneves, are the only drivers who have finished every race this year. But Scott, you touched on the big point. This is your championship points leader who's in jeopardy. Jack?
Well, it'll certainly change the points as we know them going before the race. But Greg Ray, as the pits are open, it wasn't a crash that put you out, but it's the same sort of disappointment.
Yeah, it's disappointing. You know, we had a good handling race car all weekend long. We were slow in qualifying, but even when the track was bad, we had a good handling car. So you know, I can kind of surmise it here pretty quickly because it was a very late start. We got a bad start, but the car was handling good, and unfortunately, the motor just let go very early on. So very disappointing for A.J. Foyt, Harris, and EDS, but we'll be back at Chicago.
And that's the key. They will be back. The pits are open, and fellas, what'll be interesting to see is who will pit and who won't. If tires are a major concern, some teams may elect to come onto pit road. Looks like they're gonna.
Yeah, it looks like a good portion of the front of the field, if not all of the field, down on the pit road, led by Sarah Fisher.
Keep around the Harris.
Giafoni a little further down the pits, as is Hornish. Sarah cuts in early, already receiving service. Ooh, Giafoni in the wrong position.
Yeah, Paul, he's hit a tire. He's still not in the right position. The fueling hose, I don't think, will reach from this juncture. They're checking tires. Now they swing the car around with a lift on the back end so that they can commence fueling.
And Gary, a 12.4 second stop for Sarah Fisher. They did make a chassis adjustment.
So here's something new for you. If you look at the upper left-hand corner, the time in the pits for the cars and how they came back out, with Sarah Fisher being really the first one to actually stop, but because she was so far down the pits, she comes out behind a good number of other cars.
And what ends up happening, you make sure you have a perfect pit stop, because if you don't, we saw it at Michigan, it can certainly cause you race track position. Thomas Schechter, Scott Goodyear with ABC in the booth. You had a problem here at the very beginning. It looks like maybe a miscue on the start, put you down a lap, and can you tell us about that and how the car's running?
Yeah, it was unfortunate. Everybody seemed to, the green was out and everybody seemed to brake. I was going to hit someone, and I went down the middle. They called it a false start. The car's good. Very unfortunate, because I think we could have been running up front. But, you know, if we get some good yellows, some right timing, I would be up there again.
Well, we wish you good luck. You've had the fastest car on the racetrack by the looks of it, so good luck for the race.
So Billy Boat will assume the race in Kentucky. You're watching ABC Sports Championship Television.
Under caution for the first time here at Kentucky Speedway, an accident involving Richie Hearn, who hit the outside wall very hard, and also Jill DeFerrin. Now that, of course, is a big story, because DeFerrin is the points leader coming into this race. Mathematically 15 eligible, but it's basically down to 4 drivers. And coming into today's race, those 4 were separated by just 47 points, with the top 3 18 apart. Now, in the last 5 races, DeFerrin has outscored everyone. And remember, he took the points lead from Castroneves, but Hornish and Giafoni have closed the gap. Elio has slipped just a bit. Now, the winner gets 50 points, and there is a 2-point bonus for the driver leading the most laps. And we have 4 races to go, including this one here today. So we are still under caution. Let's get some pit updates. We go to Jack Arute.
Well, Bob, Sarah Fisher did come onto pit road. She was leading at the time, and when they took her tires off, her left front Firestone Firehawk showed some severe blistering. Now, they were concerned about it, but Sarah Fisher had experienced no blistering before this race. They changed the handling setup on the car. They reduced the downforce on the front end. They also changed the tire pressure. You can go down a ½ pound of tire pressure and change as much as 25 pounds of spring rate, Gary Gerald. So they're not at all concerned. They think they've cured the problem.
This Penske team, and already this year earlier with an incident involving Elio Castroneves, we saw them labor in the garage area and get their driver back out. Now they're working here on pit road to get Jill DeFerrin back out. Here's some of the damage. This is the wishbone on the right front suspension. You can see that it just sheared totally. Look down here on the nose. You can see the impact point here, the tire mark. There's also another huge tire mark over here on the wing. Now those suspension pieces have been replaced. Crew continues to work feverishly here trying to get that car ready. Roger Penske declined an opportunity to talk for a moment, said, give me a couple of minutes. DeFerrin is already now climbing back into the car. So amazing work. But, of course, he's lost many, many laps, Bob.
Indeed, he's down 7 at the moment, and this caution has really helped him. He was part of it, but it has allowed him to get repairs made to the car and to get back out there. Now look at the change in the standings now. Fisher came in as the leader, comes out in 10th position. Giafoni, who overshot his pit, went from 2nd to 21st. He's coming in again. Billy Boat gained 2 positions, and there is Giafoni as he makes a 2nd pit stop now under this caution. And by the way, Thomas Schechter, who was penalized for jumping the start and fell down a lap, is now back on the lead lap in 22nd position. So it's Billy Boat and Sam Hornish, followed by Castroneves, Rice, and Lazier, the top 5. Then Allenzer Jr. running 6th, followed by Cheever, Renna, Barron, and Sarah Fisher, 32 out of 200 laps completed. ABC Sports is giving you the chance to win a ride in an Indy car and an all-access pass to next year's Indianapolis 500. All you need to do to enter is call the 800 number that we'll be revealing later in today's race. So stay tuned. Jack with an update on the now leader, Billy Boat.
And when Billy Boat came onto pit road, his team also noticed some chunking in the left front. In fact, Thomas Schechter reported the same thing. What did Firestone tire officials do? They've gone down this pit road, they've inspected all the tires, and they've told the teams not to be concerned about it at this point. Now remember at Texas Motor Speedway, when Jeff Ward put on that thrilling display at the end of the race, remember there was an entire section of the tire out, right down to the cord, for the last 10 laps of the event. So these tires, I think, have got dinosaur skin on them.
And the cars are now over on the backstretch, and they'll be coming down to get the signal. One more lap to go, and we'll go back to green flag racing. Again, Billy Boat is the leader at this point with 33 laps completed, with defending series champion Sam Hornish Jr. in second. There's a shot of the onboard camera of Scott Sharp, who is currently running in the 13th position. We get set to go back to racing. Back to Paul Page and Scott Goodyear.
Boat, Hornish, Castroneves, Rice, and Lazier, the top 5, as they get ready to go back to green flag racing. Our points leader, Jill DeFerrin, still in the pits. The Penske team still working on that car. He is now 8 laps behind the lead of the race. He's just fallen a 9th lap behind.
And Paul, what these guys are going to be looking for in the pits right now is all the tire wear, because they know there might be some problems in some other cars. But as we heard, Firestone is not so concerned. The drivers generally are not concerned because the tires are on the left-hand side. So we're not having that much of a worry on it.
You're watching history being made here at Kentucky Speedway. We're in the 34th lap with Billy Boat as the leader, but up until an accident caused when Richie Hearn got the wall, and he appears to be okay. We're waiting for an official update. Sarah Fisher, the first woman to qualify on the pole for a major open wheel event, and she stood right out, took the lead, and stayed there until that caution. Now it's Billy Boat leading Sam Hornish back to the line as the green flag comes out again in Kentucky. Castroneves sits third. That's Buddy Rice right behind Castroneves, and Eddie Cheever trying to work high on Al Unser Jr. That's just some oil dry that kicked up there that they had on the racetrack, not an issue. Hornish Jr. staying high. Bright yellow Pennzoil car, and Boat's beginning to inch away. The 2 Cheever cars, they go at one another. And again, to help you with their identity, Eddie Cheever has a red number and a red vertical stripe by the intake. If you're looking for Thomas Schechter, he'll have a yellow number and a yellow vertical stripe. Buddy Lazier on the move, up to 3rd place. Cheever and Castroneves. Lazier just came out of nowhere to come up there.
He really did. Now, don't forget, he's the only driver to win at this track for the previous 2 years. He wants to make it a three-peat. And the interesting thing that we'll have to watch now, Paul, is that we saw Sarah Fisher pull away at the beginning of the race. We will find out now that she is in traffic, how well her car is going to work for her, going through the people that are in front of her. If it's working well, watch for her to pass through traffic and get back up front to see if she really is as strong as she was when she qualified.
So Sarah Fisher currently 10th with her teammate. And by the way, the person that she gives a great deal of credit for her success this year to, Robbie Buell, is just ahead of her. Here's Lazier, down low, battle for 3rd. Rice trying to get him. Hornish hasn't been able to make much distance up on the leader, Billy Boat. Rice tries it again. Clear. Buddy Lazier, who has, well, you can say it this way, won every IRL race held at this track. That means the last 2. He battles with rookie Buddy Rice.
Rice doing a very nice job there. Couldn't get a job done previously. Went back, went behind Lazier, got a draft, took another run at him, and tried to pull inside. It looks like Buddy Rice is faster in turns 1 and 2, and Lazier seems to be quicker in turns 3 and 4.
Schechter, by the way, is on the move now. He comes back up to 14th position. And you saw Jill DeFerrin as he comes off of the pit. So Jill DeFerrin back into the action. We mentioned Schechter. He's up 7 positions since that restart. Giafone, who had that devastating pit stop, is up 4. And there is DeFerrin. He's on his way back into the pits. Apparently just wanted to get out and shake it down, make sure that everything's right.
It might just be the toes with its legs.
Now you heard the radio saying it might be the toes. That's talking about the alignment that's on the wheels.
4, 3,
counting him into his pit
2,
spots.
1.
Jill obviously went out on the racetrack, didn't feel the car was correct, came right back in. They'll have to make some other fine adjustments to it here and get him back out. He needs to get out as soon as possible, not to lose as many positions, maybe make some laps up so he can have a shot at collecting better points for the championship.
Was in for 15 minutes and 52nd the first time, falling 17 laps behind the lead. Here is Sarah Fisher. Jackaroo.
And Paul, as Scott Goodyear said, this is going to be the litmus test for this young lady if she can battle back through the track to the front. But according to Sarah, they're going to have to wait a little while. The car is not handling the way it was before that last pit stop. In fact, her crew chief, Mark Watt, has told her, let's run down half the tank of 35 gallons of methanol and see how the car handles there. Just be patient, Sarah. Just be patient.
Looking back from Sam Hornish Jr.'s car. Talking about Sarah's situation, Scott Goodyear, I'm assuming that a mile and a half as we look at the last lap speeds, I'm assuming that we're talking a real handling situation. Power isn't going to help you all that much here.
Track, you're absolutely right, Paul. This track is just about as much of the car handling through the turns itself as the horsepower that the engine delivers to you. And everybody's talking about it. As Lazier's having a look on the inside of Sam Hornish.
Hornish and Lazier. Lazier to second. Little kick of the back end there, but he's solidly there now. But can Hornish try to move on him? Doesn't look like it. Boat's still the leader.
And as we ride along here, you listen for the driver. If he starts to lift his foot off the throttle, you'll hear that audibly, and you know that maybe the car's not working as well for him. He's playing with the throttle. Lazier runs faster through the center of the turn, is a little faster off. Sam's back on the gas, trying to run in the tire tracks of Lazier right now and trying to pick up a toe.
Look at the Firestone telemetry as we show you the speed and tell you that on the last lap, Sam Hornish Jr., that you were on board for that lap, was at 216.6 miles an hour.
See the throttle, 97, 98% on this system is about full throttle. The lateral G's, that's 3 times the driver's body weight as he's going through the turns. And as he starts to turn into the turn, the G's will build up until it gets to about a maximum of just over 4. We saw just over 4 there for a minute. Now you think about this, the driver's getting around here in about 24, 25 seconds a lap. We're going about 215 or 18 miles an hour, folks, and these guys are running in the draft and being able to just drive along like you and I are going to work in the morning.
Schechter has grabbed another couple of positions. He is up to 12th. He's been turning lap at 219.9 miles an hour. There's Billy Boat, leader of the run, completing his 50th lap. We'll be back after this word and a word from our ABC station. You're watching ABC Sports Championship Television. Gets a break. Back in Kentucky, Billy Boat is the leader, but the caution has just come out for debris, and that couldn't work into Thomas Schechter's game plan any better. He has been 53 laps without a stop right from the start of the race. So Thomas Schechter, with his concern about tire wear, now has a chance to come in under the caution, change tires, refuel, but his tires look pretty good.
Paul, his tires look absolutely great. If you look at them right here as we're driving along, there's no indiscretion on those tires whatsoever. They're smooth, they seem nice, and for him, that tells him his car is working well, number one, and his setup is perfect. Now, don't forget, didn't have a great qualifying run because of the different rubber on the racetrack, but he's a guy that's been fast since he arrived here. He won last week, and he's been the fastest race car on the track today, and he's been marching through the field, but he was about ready for a stop, Paul. As you mentioned, this works perfectly for Team Cheever right now.
He was penalized for jumping the start. And in doing so, they brought him into the pits for a stop and go, but you can't work on the car during a stop and go penalty, so that didn't do him any good whatsoever. Sent him a lap behind the field. He got back on the lead lap with a caution, and now has just been working his way up through the field, sitting in ninth. But here's the leader, Billy Boat. And again, it looks like Boat and much of the front of the field are going to take advantage of this caution and pit.
And Paul, pit stops, we talked about this all year long. Drivers have to have a perfect day on the racetrack. The teams have to have a perfect day in the pits. We saw that this in Michigan. Guys would follow the lead, as Sarah did today, because the pit stop did not go well. They have to make sure 4 tires and 35 gallons of methanol fuel are done as quickly as possible.
Now, watch the service on your leader, Billy Boat. The man that changes the right front will be coming around to the nose of the car and be making a front wing adjustment. Had a little bit of a problem with the change of the tire. Off and away in 10.7 seconds.
We're watching now as Scheckter comes in. He is sandwiched by his teammates. Rice behind, Cheever in front. The crew jumped up and down with the yellow wave. Greg Beck said this car has been handling absolutely perfectly. Cheever is away. Scheckter has stalled. The rookie has made a mistake. It roars to life, but that cost them big time, guys. All that work may have just evaporated one more time.
And again, luckily the team, being pros, they had the starter sitting right there ready to go. Everybody does that. And there's the pit exit with Lazier coming out ahead. One of the new graphics that we have for you this weekend.
And Paul, on that Scheckter pit stop, he knew that the guys were just about ready with their stop. They were about ready to let him go. The fuel inlet would not actually come out of the car, and he thought he was ready to go, and he just let the clutch out too much and stalls it. And the crew member was still holding him, but a driver always goes by timing. Just a bit of a miscue by Thomas.
But Thomas Scheckter shows that he still is a little bit of a rookie, Bob Jenkins.
Yes, but he is a very spectacular rookie. There is no question about that. Now, here's what happened. He jumped the start. He was black flagged, and he came in for the stop, putting him a lap down. He got back on the lead lap, and then came the restart. Watch what he did. He just came through traffic like you would not believe. Passing one car, then another. Here he is going around Jeff Ward. There he goes around Ayrton Dare. Moving up into the top 10, and he was within 4 laps of needing a pit stop to come in for tires when we had a debris caution. That has allowed him to come in for the pit stop and change tires, but he did have problems on the pit stop. That has again put him a few positions back in the standings. So it's going to be very interesting to see if he can come up through the field again. Gary?
Bob, we've got word relayed to us here on pit road from Dr. Kevin Scheid at the Infield Medical Center relating to Richie Hearn. We understand that from Dr. Scheid that Richie has suffered a broken right foot. They will continue to ascertain what type of treatment is necessary. He will not be released before this race is complete. But we do know from Dr. Scheid a broken foot, unfortunately, for Richie Hearn in that early incident.
All right, thank you, Gary. Getting set for a restart in a lap and a half. There you see Felipe Giafoni. Well, next Sunday, the San Jose SaberCats will face the Chicago Rush or Arizona Rattlers in the championship of the Arena Football League. Arena Bowl 16. See it next Sunday live at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television. Felipe Giafoni has moved up to 5th position, or rather the leader of the race at the moment, with Lazier, Hornish, Unser Jr. and Castro Neves the top 5, and Unser Jr. and Castro Neves picked up positions during the pit stops. All right, we're set to go back to racing. Paul and Scott.
Well, Giafoni did not stop. That puts him out in front. His last stop was 29 laps ago. And Scott, here is another guy. They talk about the tradition, or what has become a tradition in the IRL, of new guys winning. Giafoni is many people's best guess at the next guy to do that.
I think he has a great chance, Paul. The Hollywood Monon team is so strong. They've done such a great job throughout this whole year. Sometimes he hasn't had the best of luck, but he certainly could be a multiple winner so far this year. And today, I think that he's got a great chance because he has been fast all weekend also. I saw them doing long runs in practice, and maybe this is what they're betting on right now. His car is probably working very well for him. Didn't need any changes during a pit stop, opted to stay out, and now he's going to take off here and maybe try and stretch a lead.
He will have a lot of pressure on this restart. Right behind him is Buddy Lazier, 2-time winner here, but winless this season, a hungry man, and Sam Hornish Jr., who wants to get ahead in that championship points fight because we're very quickly coming to the end of the season. Unser Jr. will restart in 4th place, and that's Castroneves back in 5th. Green flag comes out. Giafoni leads the field. Already Hornish Jr. tries to find a place to move. Lazier tries high.
As Eddie Cheever once said, anytime you look in your mirror and you see Buddy Lazier, he's like a bulldog. We'll go at you high, we'll go at you low, and he's won here twice before, as you mentioned, Paul. He understands this racetrack.
Well, it looked for a moment like Hornish had found another whole line there, but when he moved out and then came back in, it gave the advantage to Al Unser Jr., who is now 3rd. That's Billy Boat beginning to close on Hornish. Behind Boat is Buddy Rice. Castroneves had a bit of a stumble on that restart. Fell all the way back to 7th. There's Castroneves. And that's Sarah down on the inside. So she's coming back. Castroneves, Fisher, and then Tony Renna, that red and white car right behind Sarah Fisher. When you're looking at Castroneves' car, as Sarah tries into the inside, primarily Shelton I look for the dark helmet. That helps tell him separate from DeFerrin's white helmet.
It is, and as we were watching that, Paul, Sarah made a very bold move right down on the underneath side. Castroneves ended up getting her left side wheels down on the line. You saw the car wiggle a little bit. Looks like maybe the car's coming back to her now. She's trying to move forward up front.
Back at the front of the field, Giafoni, Lazier, Unser Jr. Giafoni, that blue and fluorescent colored machine owned by Morris Nunn. On board Al Unser Jr., the Forteco car.
Paul, he's done a great job. Started 14th. Remember, he's been off for the last few weeks, just getting back into a car on Saturday here. Has not run the last couple of races, but certainly he's back up to speed very fast. Getting a draft right now off from Lazier. You can hear him lift off the throttle.
Oh, look at it dial high there. Unser Jr., the car slipped on him badly there. Jack Carew.
Well, Al Unser Jr. was hoping that Jason Priestley would be his spotter for today's race, but as we reported at the top of the show, Jason Priestley was taken to a nearby trauma center after having a crash earlier in the day. So they went around to the different crew members, and they're using a sponsor representative from Delphi to spot for the 2-time Indy 500 champion, Brad Stout.
Buddy Rice took a run at Hornish, and take a look at that as Unser Jr. makes a move on Lazier and goes into 2nd.
Got the timing right this time. The previous time ended up getting a little bit of dirty air from the car in front, which was Lazier's. The front washed out from underneath him. We call that understeer. Lost momentum, got back on it, timed it correctly. The next time, he made a clean move.
And Felipe Giafoni, as the leader, has just crossed over the 70th lap, 130 to go. But he's probably due for a stop in about 7 laps.
One behind.
Oh, the IRL has been battling at the front at Kentucky Speedway. Al Unser Jr. faded back to 4th. Hornish came up and battled with Lazier for a while, and now he's going for the front of the field. Hornish Jr. is looking to grab Giafoni, but he should be due for a stop just any lap now, if not this lap. He's 45 laps out since his last stop. Last lap, he turned his fastest of the race at 218.2 miles an hour. Here is Al Unser Jr., currently 3rd.
And Paul, I've been watching him. His car is working very well on the high line. think he tried that low line a couple of times, got himself shuffled back, and now I think he's found the high line, which seems to be fast for him. There he is working on Lazier. Seems like his car's working very well for him, but actually just look behind this group of 4, and soon you see Sarah Fisher, who's come all the way back from 10th, is now starting to march herself back up towards the front.
Just inches away with Buddy Lazier for Al Unser Jr. You see Fisher now just in behind as she comes up high to try to pull up with Unser Jr. Lazier drops back now. At this point, it's Giafone, by nature of his position, who would lead in the points fight. That's how close is it. It changes every time a position changes.
Some great running here with these guys. Trying to run off the guys in front, get some drafting going on. A little bit of spreading out happening right now. Now, these guys will also be doing some work inside the cockpit. There's roll bar adjustments, which changes the handling characteristics of the car. One for the front, one for the rear. What they call a weight jacker, which changes the weight of the front on the wheels, actually, on both the right and the left. There's a knob inside the cockpit right down here. The Al Jr. can actually shift and change, make his car work better for him. These drivers throughout the run will be working on all those apparatuses that they have to try and make the car work better for them.
Unser Jr. working on Hornish. Hornish watching the leader, hasn't taken a run on him. Don't forget today the True Value IROC Series title is on the line. Don't miss the season finale from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Today at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific right here on ABC. Make your next pit stop at ESPN.com. Keyword ABC Sports for the latest news and analysis. Lazier is able to move around Junior. Last lap for Giafone, 2:16.9. Rice has run a lap over 2:20.
Just coming inside.
By a comparison here, Scott Goodyear, as Lazier comes around, Busch Series runs here, and they'll run in the mid-170s.
And that's a huge speed difference, Paul. When you think about 1.5 miles in length, this D-shaped oval, not a lot of banking here, 14 degrees, a relatively flat track compared to some places we go to like Texas with 24 degrees of banking. But 221 miles an hour in qualifying compared to, say, those Busch cars that also run at this track, like you mentioned, Paul, about 175 miles an hour. What a huge speed difference, 45, 50 miles an hour. These guys can certainly notice that.
Two different groups going side by side. Lazier and Unser Jr. And Renna comes up, moves on Sarah Fisher. So Tony Renna, that red and white car coming to the front. When Busch is here, they complain about aero push on the car.
They do, Paul. The aero pushes means when you're behind a car that's in front of you, your car will not turn. It's almost like trying to turn your car on ice. We saw this a little bit earlier with Al Unser Jr. He got behind some dirty air, lost a bit of momentum because his car wouldn't turn. These guys can actually make the timing of their pass correct. They will not have as much of an aero push problem as they would do if they had a situation where they're directly behind. Their timing is crucial for these drivers.
So Sarah came up, worked alongside of Billy Boat for 6th place for a while. Interval over the front 8 is very tight, just over a second and a half. Giafone is the leader. And he's now 55 laps out from his last stop. So we expected him in the pit some time ago. He's running that car a tremendous difference. Gary Gerald?
Quick update on Castro Neves for the Penske team. Had a radio report that they have word of blistering on the left front. Tim Cindric had told us prior to the start of the race that had been a concern and that they had been tinkering with tire pressures and they thought that maybe they had it cured. Well, maybe they don't.
Unser Jr. comes around Hornish and picks up second. Giafone still the leader. Unser Jr. just got a good shot on Hornish there down the inside. Now Hornish is going to come back at him.
And Paul, that was a classic example of the major difference between running and Indy trouble.
Whoa, car against the wall. Couple actually involved, and one of them is Thomas Schechter.
Well, the turn 2, we haven't seen the replay yet, but it does tighten up there on the exit of 2.
So as we suggested, 2 cars involved, Thomas Schechter being one of them. And unfortunately, the 14 car, which is Ayrton Dare.
Standing
Both
up
of
in
them
the
winners
seat,
this year.
looking for the damage, seeing what happened.
Dare was down running 18th at the time of the accident. Schechter was trying that run for the front. Here it is.
We've got a car spinning right there, and I would, looks like it possibly could be Schechter. Paul will have to get a closer look of it, but lost the car just on the exit of 2. The back end seemed to come around, came around quite quickly. So we don't know if that was a mechanical problem with the car, but then he lost it, backed the car into the wall. Unfortunately, Ayrton Dare was just going around on the high side and got collected.
Looked like Scott Sharp had to make a bold move to the left to keep away from it. Yeah, that was Schechter that backed into the wall first, and Dare tried to run high, but it didn't help. Just put him into the wall as well.
Now watch his hands right here to see what happens when the car starts to go around. He corrects once, twice. So initially, something happened with the car. He went to correct. He saw his hands turn down to the right. He came back to center, and then the car wiggled again, and then it was just too much that time, and he couldn't catch it, and off the car went backwards into the wall. Now think about that. The car is going around the turn, 215, 20 miles an hour, and the thing slips out from underneath him.
So caution again at Kentucky Speedway.
Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway. The caution is out because of an accident involving Schechter and Dare, and the pits are open. And Giafoni needed this pit stop because he was within just a few laps of having come in under green.
And we've got a problem on pit road. Tony Renna has gotten crossed up coming into the pits and has hit one of his crew members.
Allenzer Jr. out in 8.7 seconds. Giafoni is still on pit road. Here comes Sam Hornish out of the pits and Buddy Lazier. Giafoni had a rather long pit stop, dropping all the way down to 5th position. So Unser comes out first, followed by Hornish, Lazier, then Boat, and Giafoni. Scott Sharp will come out 6th, and there is the scene at Tony Renna's pit. Al Unser Jr. is back in competition after spending a few weeks at an alcohol treatment center. The incident in which started all of this happened in Indianapolis late one night when he and his girlfriend were involved in a little altercation, and she was left standing alone at Interstate 465. After that, Al Unser Jr. decided to get some treatment. Here's a very emotional and exclusive interview that Jackaroo did with Al earlier this week.
It was my fault. It wasn't my girlfriend's. My girlfriend was scared to death on the side of a freeway. And, you know, I feel so bad about that. I have some issues. I have a problem that I need to understand. Why does it keep happening to me? You know, when I can quit drinking and then feel good about myself, and then all of a sudden, you know, I can have one drink, and then in a couple days later I can have a couple more, and then, you know, all of a sudden I'm becoming unpredictable in my drinking, where, you know, I never knew what was going to happen after I had a couple drinks. Was I going to go home and get a good night's sleep, or, you know, was I going to go out and close the bar? I am Al, and I'm a grateful alcoholic, and I'm grateful for all the things that I have in my future. On the other hand, there's some things that I've done that are just insane. There was never, ever a time that it was even thought of to be under the influence of anything. You know, when you're behind that wheel, you have to be there fully concentrating, or you will get hurt faster than it takes you to get in that car. This is the race of my life, and I'm doing it one lap at a time, and I win races. I've won races my whole life, and I'm going to win this one.
Caution here at Kentucky due to an accident involving Thomas Scheckter and Ayrton Dare. Both appear to be in good shape. However, there's concern on pit road for a couple of crew members of Tony Renna. We'll keep you updated. Well, the fourth race of the Infinity Pro Series was held here at Kentucky earlier today. A.J. Foyt IV had the pole and the lead until Ed Carpenter there in the blue car went around him. But A.J. Foyt IV comes storming right back, retakes the lead. And A.J. Foyt IV goes on to win his third out of 4 races in the Infinity Pro Series this year. And he has command of the point standings now as we head for the next event. There's Corey Witherell running in 3rd position at the end. Ronnie John Cox and Matt Beardsley made up the top 5, with Ari Lyondike Jr. finishing in the 6th position. Corey Witherell is 51 points behind A.J. Foyt IV. Carpenter, Lyondike, and John Cox complete the top 5 in the point standings. Now, here is the very latest information concerning Jason Priestley. Forgive me for reading notes from just handed me. He has a concussion. He has fractured feet. He has a compression of thoracic spine. He is listed in serious but stable condition. However, the good news is that he is responding to directions that are being given to him by doctors. So it certainly sounds a lot better for Jason than it did earlier when he was reported to be in critical condition after he was airlifted to the University of Kentucky Trauma Center. More racing for the IRL coming up. Stay with us.
Hi, Sam Hornish Jr. with some big news. Later, I'll be giving you a special number and a chance to win an all-access pass to next year's Indy 500. Stick around.
Back with the Indy Racing League in Kentucky, the green flag has just come out. Will Langhorne, the rookie, was the leader going to green, but everybody moved around him, and now it's Hornish that is in front, but Lazier is down to the inside working on him.
Clear behind him.
Giafone also made a great move on that restart. Moved up to challenge the lead. Now on fresh tires, full load of fuel.
4 abreast they went in on that restart, Paul. That's an amazing shot. Giafone underneath Hornish. These guys are running strong. They know it's time to make up time right now on the restarts. These guys are looking for track position. Looks like these 3 are going to break away right now, pull away from the rest of the field.
Buddy Lazier leading now, is leading the first laps he's led since he won here last year. Jackaroo, during that last set of stops, Tony Renna got the car halfway around in the pits, and there were some crew members that were injured. Can you get us up to date on that?
Yes, I can, Paul. Jeff Horton, Bernie Helinski were the 2 that were the most seriously injured, but they were awake and talking to the medical technicians when they were taken to the infield care center. Also minor injuries to Rusty Herford, but he's elected to stay here and try and work
for
with
the
the team.
lead. Sorry, Jack. Hold on a second, buddy. Giafone for the lead.
Still there.
But Lazier is going to come right back.
Still there. Still there. Still there. Still there. You're clear. Good job.
Giafone back to the front, and the yellow comes out again. This time is a debris. Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, we are at the medical center now. The previous yellow created by the incident involving Ayrton Dare and Thomas Scheckter. Ayrton, obviously you guys are okay. Can you tell us what happened? Were you just a victim here?
Yeah, I mean, both of us, you know. I saw the blisters on his tires, and then I knew that's going to blow up. I called my guys and to tell the officials there, but I don't know if the information got to the officials or not. But it was unfortunately for us because the car was really good. We thought that we could be a top 5 finish, you know, but that wasn't our fault.
Thomas, for the 8th time at DNF, were you aware that the tires were blistering?
No, not at all. And I thought something wrong with the engine because it was lagging a lot down the straights. But I just feel sorry for Dore. He had nothing to do with it. You know, he tried to warn me or warn my pit crew that my tire went. No one warned me. No one warned the officials. We have to sit down with Firestone and make sure this doesn't happen again, really.
Is there a way in your mind at these speeds that another driver, another team can make you aware of a situation like that to possibly avoid it?
It's a dangerous situation with the tire, and that's exactly why Ayrton told me or told his spotter to tell my spotter or tell the officials. And it's a dangerous situation, and look what happens, you know. So thank him.
Well, we're glad you're all right, Paul.
All right, now Tony Renna spun around. We're going to go back to that in a second. This is what we think actually caused this caution. Al Unser Jr.'s car out on the outside of Giafone. Now the report is they may have touched. Now watch Junior. Yes, something certainly happened there, if not a touch. So we're back under caution, 108 laps complete with the Indy Racing League. Back with the Indy Racing League at Kentucky under caution. And we originally said that it was some sort of carbon fiber debris was the cause of this yellow. But the question is how it got there. Look at this.
Just a little touch between both those cars. Piece of carbon fiber up here, you see possibly, or something off one of the cars. You can see in the blue background to the wall. Just a slight touch like that, and you can show how close these guys are going at that speed.
Now, from that color, as we watch from Scott Sharp's on board, you kind of assume it's something off Giafone's car, but it also could be something came off the surface of the track. That we're not certain of.
Well, and you see Al Unser Jr. did a nice collection, caught the car. He's up in that gray area right there, and he did a great job of saving it and getting back onto the line. Now, what he's doing right now is going up beside the drivers that are in front of him, telling them to close up that gap that you see between the two cars for the restart.
Yeah, that sent him back 17 positions, back into the 17th position. Giafone is our leader under the caution, followed by Lazier, Hornish, and then Scott Sharp. Now sits in fourth place, the teammate to Al Unser Jr. and to Tony Rennan.
Scott Sharp, this is Scott Goodyear in the booth, and 21st qualifying spot. You're now running in fourth. Can you tell us a little bit about that, plus the close call you saw in front of you just a minute ago?
Yeah, we're having a good day, Scott. Delphi team's giving me some great pit stops to keep improving the car. Just keep trying to improve the car to get to the end of the race and really be able to charge for the front. Gotta go, a little busy.
Well, good luck. You finished second here last year. Get it done.
Oh, there's a famous quote for you. So Scott Sharp now begins to focus on the potential restart. Giafone will lead the field back. One of those who has not yet won in the IRL, but many think that he is almost overdue now. The restart order for you is heads up on the top 10. Al Unser Jr. will restart back in 17, and his teammate Renna will be back alongside him as well. Green flag comes out in front of a giant crowd here at Kentucky Speedway. Giafone once again is able to pull away. Lazier tucks right in behind him. Hornish looks high on Lazier. Scott Sharp hasn't decided which position he wants to be in, high or low. Coming behind them, Catherine Evis and Alex Barron.
Billy Boat seems to be the guy that's on the charts right now, running on the low side. Seemed to have a strong restart. Remember, he's running that Infinity Power, changed over just a few races ago, and since he's done that, he's had 2 front row starts.
Billy Boat, they go 3 wide. That's Boat down low, Catherine Evis. And Sarah Fisher keeping there in the top 10, currently at 7.
Still there. Go down, 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 down. Clear.
Oh, Boat got real high.
Oh, look at that. Boat got in real trouble.
Just out of that black part of the racetrack, that groove up into the gray area. Had to get off the throttle. Oh, I would say, guys, he's got a tire going down. Look at that right rear tire right there.
It's gone.
Tire is down, and he did a great job of saving that. Just around 200 miles an hour.
Okay.
Outstanding.
Right
and they go yellow.
Flat tire, flat tire.
So the caution comes out again as the tire comes off the right rear of Billy Boat's car. The 5th yellow of the day on the 115th lap. But a brilliant piece of driving by Billy Boat.
Well, Paul, he got high in the grade because he probably felt something going on with the car. And as a driver, you know something's going on with the rear. You won't turn the car very hard because you think it might come around on you. And sure enough, he felt it, knew what was going on. He slowed the car down. He did a great save.
So Giafone is now the leader and continues to be the leader. We'll be back after this and a word from our ABC stations. You're watching ABC Sports Championship Television.
Welcome back to the Belterra Resort Indy 300. Next Sunday, the San Jose SaberCats will face the Chicago Rush or the Arizona Rattlers in the championship of the Arena Football League. Arena Bowl 16 next Sunday live at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television. Under caution because Billy Boat lost a tire and created some debris on the racetrack. During this caution, Jackaroot, Renna made a pit stop.
Indeed, he did, Bob. And let's go back over the list. Jeff Horton, Bernie Holinsky, and Rusty Herford were the 3 crew members regularly assigned that were injured in the previous pit stop. Now, we're pleased to report that Herford is okay, although he's not in the pits, but they lost their fueler. So Jeff Dykes was going to fill in there. He is okay, but a little sore. But Thomas Schechter has dispatched Tom Bowes, his fueler here. The camaraderie and sportsmanship continues, as now Tom will be doing the fueling for Tony Renna.
Bernie hit me.
And Tony Renna and Billy Boat both have stayed on the lead lap, so there are 18 cars that are currently on the lead lap. The next race for the Indy Racing League will be near St. Louis, the Gateway Indy 250. Al Unser Jr. won that race last year. You'll see it on ESPN Sunday, August 25th at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Felipe Giafoni has led 48 laps of this event so far, as we see that Billy Boat has the new tire on and back on the racetrack. Felipe Giafoni, last year's Rookie of the Year, has been somewhat dominant, although we have had 6 leaders in this race. He's led 49 laps, and as Paul Page indicated earlier, many think that he is the next one to pull off a win in the Indy Racing League, Gary.
Peter Paradis alongside. Peter, earlier the problems in the pits put you all the way to the back. Here you are all the way at the front. How concerned are you now about the remaining laps, 80-some to go?
We have no concerns. We'll do fine. We just keep doing what we're doing. We'll be fine.
The poise of this team, even though you're relatively new to the IRL, is this at all a surprise? Is this totally by designation?
That's the time. Haven't really got an answer for that right now.
He's modest to a fault. They've done a marvelous job here, Jack.
Gary, let's talk. We've seen a lot of blistering. We've seen some tire issues here. Now, here's the way to equate this. Firestone just reported from their engineers in taking temperatures of these tires that it has escalated to the point where the temperatures are higher than boiling water. That is just how hot these Firestone tires are getting out there. So it's something that Firestone didn't anticipate, but when you consider that fact, so far, so good.
We are still under caution, awaiting the green flag at Kentucky.
Well, back at Kentucky Speedway, we tried to restart, but then this car, the 53 machine of Buddy Rice, got sideways down in the first turn. He saved it, did a good job of saving it, but of course that caused the officials a little apprehension, and they hit the yellow light immediately, as they should.
Oh, you see the car coming off the bottom of the turn, probably a little bit low, pinching the car a little bit coming off. The back end gets loose, but he does a nice job correcting it, gets the car straight, did not get onto the grass, and just gets into the back of the field.
So at the current moment, it is Felipe Giafoni that is leading the run. We take a look at the Buddy Rice situation again. Mayra's car just easily down onto the asphalt on the inside, so that helped. So Giafoni is the leader, followed by Hornish, Lazier, Castroneves, Sharp. Sarah Fisher is now 6th. We saw history made here at the start of this race as Sarah Fisher became the first woman to lead the field to the green flag on the pole. Jack?
And Paul, after the first pit stop, Sarah Fisher started to get a push condition in her car. That meant it was wanting to go to the wall. They have battled that throughout a series of pit stops. I just talked to Mark Wida, her crew chief, and he has told me that they think that they are one stop away from getting her back to where she was at the start of the race. Kind of interesting. They only need one more stop to finish this race.
Expect the green flag coming out this time. Jill DeFerrin, who was the points leader coming into this race, got into trouble early, some damage to his car. They fixed it, but he's 27 laps behind the leader.
Pick it out, go, 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 go.
Oh, Hornish may get the best of Giafoni on this one. Hornish works high on the leader. Remember, with Sam Hornish, we're talking a battle for championship points, along with Giafoni, along with Helio Castroneves, who comes into third place. Buddy Lazier gets sorted out. He's running a low groove with Scott Sharp, now trying to get up around him, but Lazier seems to be able to make the low groove work.
Sharp and Lazier so close, right behind Castroneves, who's actually resurfaced because he sort of fell back just a little while ago.
There's Sarah Fisher, that yellow and blue car right behind, currently in 6th place. Lazier and Castroneves battle for 3rd. Giafoni now carefully pulling away from Hornish.
Beautiful side-by-side running, Paul. 215, 16 miles an hour average. Probably going into turns about 222.
Well, that's one full lap side-by-side for Castroneves and Lazier. Sharp comes up on the high side of Fisher. At the front, Hornish closes down now.
Paul, we talked about only having one more stop. The biggest part for these drivers right now is Hornish is having a look at Giafoni, is to make sure they contact with the pits and tell them what changes they need on the next pit stop.
At the line last time around, Sarah Fisher was the fastest at 219.5. Here comes Hornish, moving out, moving for the lead.
So Giafoni come off of turn 2, run a low line going into 3. Might have come off slow in 2. He knew he was going to get beat. A little bit of blocking. Sam looks like he's got the stronger car right now.
Tires have become a concern throughout this warm afternoon.
He's already run into one car today.
You can hear that information from Concho Carter, saying that Giafoni's already touched one car today. So Giafoni's definitely making a lot of moves there, going down the backstretch. He keeps that up. And Brian Barnhart, the chief steward, will actually be looking to see what he's doing. Might end up getting a stop-and-go penalty.
And the race control booth is located directly adjacent to us, and you can see race control on their two-way radios and watching their monitors as well as watching this battle out the window.
Now Sam very smartly, he's going to sit back and just pace himself. He knows it. Gilles de Ferran right now, who's leading the points championship.
Side.
Cheever, Sharp.
Side. Clear.
That's for 6.
He likes it there.
I'll finish up on that. He knows for sure if Hornish does right now that Castroneves is running right behind him, but Gilles de Ferran, who's leading the championship, is off the pace right now, and he's going to collect a lot of points on him if he just keeps doing what he's doing right now.
Interesting contrast in the two lines that they are capable of driving here. They come across the line. We'll look at the relationship. There's the front 3 for you. And in 4th place is Sarah Fisher. She's about 1.2 seconds back from the leader, Giafoni.
And Paul, her crew has just told Sarah Fisher, much the way a jockey would go to the whip near the end, to start to catch the front 3. She was told, don't let them get any further up front. Go there, Sarah. Go there.
Well, let's see how she responded to that with a lap at 219.147. Last lap, she kicked it up to 220 miles an hour. So Sarah is without question in this fight.
Paul, you see the leaders going past Billy Boat right there. He's the one that had the problem last time with the yellow caution, with the tire going down and coming off the rim. Probably a little apprehensive right now after that situation happened when he back out there at full speed.
But no longer a factor being 2 laps down.
Which is a shame because he's been strong all weekend, sat on the outside of row 1, and has been fast each session.
First, second, and third, there they are. Hornish goes high, Lazier goes with him. And then Lazier brings it back down. And And Fisher closes in. So does Scott Sharp.
Fisher with over 219 miles an hour, almost a mile an hour faster than the front three. She's collecting the draft now. Those three cars in front of her are creating a big hole in the air, and she's taking advantage of that and catching that slipstream to catch up to those guys.
Sarah Fisher, last lap at 220.5 miles an hour. She is laying down the fastest laps of the race.
And all they keep telling her, be patient, Sarah, and use your head.
Lazier trying on Hornish. Hornish trying to work the leader.
Watch how close they are right here in that area. Left front tire of Hornish going to the right rear of Giafoni, just 4 or 5 inches away.
This line tends to work for Giafoni.
He has liked the low line call. You're absolutely correct.
Fuel, Sam, +1.
Even on restarts, you hear Hornish's radio come through, +1 on fuel. That means riching it up, gives him more speed. The fuel mileage doesn't seem to be a concern right now. Should also give him a little bit more horsepower.
Still inside, still there, still inside, still there.
The low line looks like it's working better for Giafoni than the high line is for Hornish. But Hornish seems to have the better going through the tri-oval and going into one.
Lazier comes up, tries to be a little help to Hornish, but doesn't seem to be able to run up there. And in doing that, Sarah Fisher has closed in on the inside of him.
She's got clean air right now. She's cutting her own air. Cars should have no handling problems. And these two up front right now, Hornish and Giafoni running side by side, will be slowing themselves up, allowing these back two to catch up.
0.3 of a second, first through fourth. Fisher down on the inside of Lazier now. Hornish on the outside of Giafoni.
Look how fast these guys are going, Paul. 216, 217, 218, side by side.
And Sarah slots into third place. Now Fisher's going to try to lead again. If he isn't going to get it, he at least is going to put a lot of pressure on Giafoni.
You know Giafoni's protecting the bottom, and Hornish is trying to go around them up top. Just set yourself up for a run.
Sarah comes to the inside of Hornish.
Still there. Still there. Grab off at Giafoni. Grab off at Giafoni. Still there. Quarter. Nose. Nose. Clear. Clear.
It works for her. Fisher to second. That was a nice little move and some great coaching.
Awesome job there. Keep plugging. Got 3 lanes. 3 lanes. Like I said, Giafoni's running the white line. Just grab a toe and try to get a run.
If the car's working for her, she's taken advantage of it. She's played a very patient game today, Paul. There's been segments of the race where the car's not worked for her, but she's not overdriven it. Communicated with the pits, made the changes. And as we heard before from Jack and Ruth, they have one more change to make on the last
still
stop.
2 lanes to Hornish. 2 lanes. It's right on his draft here.
The crowd here is loving this. Here comes Hornish on the outside.
Outside. Outside. Outside. Outside. You're right with, looking outside. 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 Be smooth, be patient. Still there.
While you watch this battle, know that they are very close to the final stop of the race. And I think that's going to be who blinks first. Now, Giafoni went 57 laps without a stop.
As you mentioned, Paul, only one more stop. They know they'll make it to the end. Their stop is going to have to be perfect, both from the driver's point of view, coming in off the track as quickly as possible, hitting the marks in the pit box, getting great service from the team as Hornish is starting to look on the outside of Giafoni. Some lap traffic with Billy Boat ahead.
Hornish tried to take advantage of the slower car, Billy Boat. Boat wisely gets down.
Looking, coming inside, clear.
So 55 laps since the last stop for almost everybody. So they should be due any time now.
Paul, the key thing is that they are now in the window with just over 50 laps to go. That when they make that stop, they're good for fuel for the rest of the way, for the 200 laps.
Yeah, but Gary, here is one exception to that. It's Allen's or Junior. Junior is 40 laps from his last stop. He will have to stop again, but not necessarily now.
And the bonus for him, Paul, is that if these guys in the front right now have to come in underneath a green flag condition, and then shortly after they have pitted for fuel and tires, they come back on the track and a yellow comes out, Al Unser Jr. then gets to pit underneath a caution at slower reduced speeds on the racetrack for everybody else. He might find himself just way up in front.
Well, the top four, actually the top six, would be due in for service sometime very soon, within the next 10 laps. We'll stay with you for that stop.
And Paul, we know now when Sarah Fisher will come in.
Whoa! And Sharp does not take his foot off the gas, guys. No lift of the throttle. You could not hear it in the in-car. That is amazing.
At the front of the field, Hornish is going to try Giafoni again. Again, there is traffic just ahead that might be an influence. But Giafoni, that line down there really works for him. He closes on the slower traffic.
The battle we saw with Fisher and Sharp, looks like Fisher's car was working so well for her on the bottom, but now it looks like she's starting to back up just a small amount.
Now Scott Sharp just got around Sarah while we were watching the fight for the lead. Sharp now to third. Lazier is starting to work on Sarah.
And this is important to note because it's telling you that Sarah's car is not working for her at the end of her run when the fuel is going down. And this will be a major key issue because this will be almost like her car will be in the last 10 or 15 laps of the run, coming down to the 200 lap mark.
Scott, what they really want Sarah Fisher to concentrate on the next 4 or 5 laps before she pits is to keep her rhythm. Get your rhythm back is what they keep telling you.
Now, right now, she's talking to her pits, telling her what's going on with the car. They have the telemetry system. Don't forget that two-way system that they can watch in their computer in the pit lane to see what is going on with their car, steering angle, tire pressures. They almost know how her car is handling just as well as she does. And she's going to stay out there as long as she possibly can, because if there is a yellow, she wants to take advantage of it. Even though she's having a bit of a handling problem, she does not want to come in now underneath green. She might lose too much track position.
They certainly can study it a lot longer than she can. She's a little busy there. Telemetry, a one-way system from the car to the pits. They can't make a change on the car from the pits. They can only do that on the stop and then manually, not electronically.
And it's important, Paul, to note, as you mentioned, when they're watching that, they know that she can also lose her rhythm, as Jack mentioned. And that's why they're saying, get your rhythm back. Don't let the handling problems bother you.
Still there. Still there. Still there. Hold your line up here. Don't push them
up. Going to have a problem with a car just ahead, but maybe it'll become Giafoni's problem.
Still there. Still there. Still there. Still there.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Still there. You got sharpened back now.
And Hornish takes the lead as they move around George Mack.
And Giafoni got boxed in. That's when there's traffic in front of you. In your lane, you have nowhere to go. Hornish played that perfectly and left him no option except to get off the gas.
Now we have a caution. Caution is for debris. Scott Sharp came up alongside of Felipe Giafoni, but now backs out of it. 7th yellow of the day. Hornish takes the lead. Giafoni drops to 2nd. Sharp goes to 3rd. Fisher is 4th. Caution comes out at a perfect time for pit stops.
Paul, the question will be, will Al Jr. come in even though he's still got more fuel in the tank? Will he come in underneath yellow, or will he gamble there'll be a yellow further on in the race?
Well, what would you do?
Right now, I'd take the yellow. You're so close. You're in 6th spot. You're running just in sight of the leaders. I'd have to take it.
We'll be back with more from Kentucky.
Under our 7th caution of the day, this one for debris on the racetrack. And again, it comes at a very opportune time for final pit stops. We've completed 161 of the 200 laps. Those running up front desperately needed this pit stop, and now they're going to all be able to make it under the caution. There is Sarah Fisher, who has just had an outstanding weekend, making history starting from the pole. She's still running in 4th position and very much a factor in this race. We saw those on the lead lap, and there are currently 12 cars on the lead lap that are going to be coming in for what hopefully will be final service of the afternoon. Sarah Fisher hits her marks.
21-year-old Sarah Fisher will get a new set of tires, full load of fuel, and right there, the final wing adjustment that they were looking for.
And as Sarah rolls, we keep an eye on Sam Hornish, revs her up. Car ducking in front of him. Now going by, Scott Sharp beats him out. There's Unser right behind. Oh, traffic jam headed for pit exit.
Giafoni was at the front when they exited the pits. As you can see, Scott Sharp also moved up a position, coming out second. Castro Neves is going to be third on the restart. Hornish lost a couple of positions there, will be shown in fourth as Lazier and Unser wind up fourth and fifth coming out of the pits. So we are setting up for what should be a dash to the finish here at Kentucky.
All right, here it is. Just call this number. You could be the lucky winner of an all-access pass to next year's Indy 500. Hey, I wish it was that easy for me. Good luck.
Well, Sam Hornish Jr. has certainly been a factor since the drop of the green flag in this race, as he is for almost all of them. Certainly a possible winner here. And there is the fuel tank on Sam Hornish's pit side area. They wanted to get to that line, and look how close they were. They are perfect in terms of having enough fuel in that car to go the distance. More racing coming up on ABC Championship Television at the conclusion of this race at 5 o'clock. The fourth and final race of IROC 26. It occurred at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And you'll be wanting to see who wins the race and who wins the championship of the True Value International Race of Champions in its 26th season. It's Giafoni, Sharp, Castroneves, Hornish, and Lazier, the top five. Then Unser, Fisher, Barron, Rice, and Renna being shown as the top 10 here with 164 laps completed. .37 laps to go, and we're with you now until the finish. Felipe Giafoni, who has led 87 laps so far, is at the front of the field as we get set to go back to racing, hopefully, Paul, to the checkered flag.
Yeah, and this crowd here is loving it. A great crowd. They expected 45 to 50,000, and they've been on their feet most of this race. Down taking a little break right now, but we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing. And as we do, we're expecting a run to the finish. Everybody that matters has fuel. Everybody that matters has tires. Giafoni is the leader. Sharp is in second. Followed by Castroneves, who's in the points fight with the fourth place car. Hornish Jr. Buddy Lazier sits in fifth. Unser Jr. sits back in sixth place. And he should be good to the finish now as well. 13 cars on the lead lap. There's Sarah Fisher, currently seventh. Pace picks up. And we're back racing as Giafoni leads them to the green flag. They go 3 wide back in the field. Yellow and red car is Scott Sharp in second. But that's Elio Castroneves that's trying to work on him, while Hornish is working on Lazier.
Exactly what Giafoni wants to see in his mirrors, Paul. These guys are just so 3-4 abreast in the front stretch.
Buddy Lazier sticks his nose in there. Gets up alongside and around Castroneves for second.
Buddy knows this is the run to the finish. He's won here the 2 previous times. He can taste it right now. He's had just an awful season so far, with the one exception of the IROC win at Chicago.
It's no time to be timid. Here comes Sam Hornish as he starts to work on Castroneves.
Sharp, who started that in second, has got shuffled back a little bit right now. They sometimes wonder if they have enough horsepower to compete with some of the other guys.
Still inside, still inside.
That's Ellenser Jr. Tries to get a nose inside of Sharp.
Still there.
Catherine Evis and Hornish remain side by side. That's the battle for third.
Interesting to note, Paul Giafoni out in front on that lower line, which is the faster way around the racetrack. He's been running down there all day long. He's going to have his foot flat on the gas.
Inside. Inside.
Here comes Renna, the cruise car. He comes alongside of his teammate Sharp. 3 cars for the Kelly team. Renna, of course, making the greatest moves as we show you the moves since the restart. And the 3 Kelly cars are running right together.
Clear. Clear.
Now reporting back in Renna's pit, one of the Kelly pits, Jeff Horton, who is slightly injured. When Renna got out of shape on a pit stop, he is back in the pits and working at his position. So that's good news.
And Renna's doing a wonderful job, Paul, to be able to put that behind him. He'll deal with the emotions of that when he gets out of the car. But what an awful thing to come down pit lane to hit one of your crew members. But you almost have to departmentize that. Put that out of your mind if you're going to go back out there and race at over 220 miles an hour.
Buddy Lazier going to try the same line that Hornish tried lap after lap on Felipe Giafoni. And it doesn't seem to work any better than Hornish's. There's Sarah Fisher. Started on the pole, first woman to do so. Now sitting back in 10th place. She's fallen a little bit since his restart.
Now they did do a change to her car, Paul, in the pit stop, as we noted. Changed the front wing. Not a lot, maybe a half a turn of front wing, which sort of tells you the car is not turning that well for her. But they also can change tire pressures, which they may have done on that stop, but her car has to really improve for her in the next 10 laps or so to put herself in a position to be there at the end.
Scott, 2 things. It generally takes her about 5 to 8 laps for the tires to come up to the full pressure that Sarah Fisher wants. Also, they had a very long stop. When it was all said and done, Sarah Fisher said to her crew chief, "Hey guys, I think we need to practice our pit stops."
I would say absolutely. I've watched those stops all day long. She's generally come in, Jack, in one position and lost maybe 3 or 4 on the way out. Now it's a team effort. She's doing a great job on the racetrack. The guys are doing a great job in the pits. But as we see with some of the other teams, if you can just improve by a half a second, maybe you can improve by about 4 spots on the racetrack at the same time.
Here's the fight at the front, the Hollywood car, Giafoni. Coors Light machine. Operated by Buddy Lazier, who has won the last 2 races here, the only Indy Racing League events held here, and has not led a lap since then until he led earlier today on board the Delphi car.
Listening to Scott Sharp, that's on the rev limiter that you hear.
Whoa, that's Tony Renna, and he gets right up inside him.
Still there. Still there. Clear.
Jackaroo, maybe a problem with one of Sarah's tires?
Well, we've seen blistering all day, but generally on the left front. This is the right rear off of Sarah Fisher's car from the last pit stop. See right down here? That's the cord that holds the tire together. But yet at 217 miles an hour, Sarah Fisher was easily battling for the front.
Ellenser Jr. moves high on his teammate, Tony Renna. Looking for 6th place.
And to touch on those tires, Paul, the Firestone engineers will be taking all this information back and changing the tire compound for next year's race. They make the best racing tire that there is out there right now, but the track has been repaved, don't forget, since last year. So the lessons learned here right now will be back to change the car for tires for next year to improve the car.
But Scott, what absolutely amazes me is that they can run with tires in that condition and not lose any speed. It's amazing.
Looking at speeds at the line now. Looks like Sam Hornish putting in the fast speeds, but Giafoni's no slouch.
Still there.
Barron and Fisher. Battle now for 8th. Now, Scott, I got to ask you, there's a lot of things I don't understand, but here's one I really don't understand. They're reporting tire wear, tire blisters on the left front. I thought the left front tire on an oval barely touched the ground.
Well, some people think it just goes along for the ride because it's not loaded. The right side tires on the outside take the brunt of the pressure going around the turns. But to get these cars to work to go around the turns, the mechanics and the engineers can play with the weight on all 4 corners because there's independent suspension. They can adjust the suspension to put a lot of weight on that left front corner to help the car turn through the turns itself. Obviously, maybe some teams have too much, and it's wearing out the tire.
Elio Castroneves picked up the pace last lap, up to 218.6 miles an hour, one of his fastest of the day. On board with Sharp, currently 5th. Leader is Felipe Giafoni. He's trying to become the 6th first-time winner in the last 7 IRL events. Sam Hornish currently 3rd, 1 second behind the lead. Gary Gerald, what's his story?
Paul, you keep an eye on those 2 front-running cars of Giafoni and Lazier. Sam Hornish was encouraged a few laps ago by his crew to try 5th gear. He has now pulled away from the cars he was running with, and as you mentioned, he's close to within 1 second. But we'll see if he can do it on his own. Can he chase down those 2 men in front of us as time winds down? 16 laps to go.
There's Sam Hornish Jr. Cut a 10th off that last time around. Fisher has got the speed up at 219.566 miles an hour. So the pace is picking up for Fisher. Leader is at 218.1.
And Paul, the reason for changing the 5th gear, probably from 6th, let the engine work on a higher RPM, maybe get a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more speed out of the car. The engineers can see the RPMs by that telemetry system in the pit lane. They simply get on the radio to Sam and say, Sam, go from 6th to 5th, try that, see if that goes quicker for you.
Again, Castroneves picks the pace up, 219.02. Trying to catch
Nice job, nice
Sam
and
Hornish
smooth.
for 3rd.
Keep pushing.
14 laps to go now. Is Giafoni on his way to his first win? I wouldn't say that it's in the record book yet, not with Buddy Lazier sitting right there, nor with Sam Hornish sitting in 3rd. At Kentucky Speedway, the Indy Racing League, the Belterra Resort Indy 200. I'm Paul Page with Bob Jenkins, Scott Goodyear up here in the booth, Jack Arute, Gary Gerald down in the pits. And it is currently, and only currently, that Felipe Giafoni leads it, though he has been the dominant power in the last half of the race, looking for his first win. Last year's and 2-time winner here, Buddy Lazier, is sitting just behind him, and Sam Hornish Jr. is sitting there in 3rd place right now. Don't forget, Women's British Open is coming up as soon as we're done here. But right now, we have got some terrific racing going. Sarah Fisher started here on the pole. She's fallen back as far as 10th in the last few laps, but now has worked her way back up to 8th. Those in contention in the points, like this guy, Sam Hornish Jr., continue to battle at the front along with Elio Castroneves, who is sitting a bit back, but still at the battle in the front. Castroneves currently in 4th. He's been picking the pace up.
And Paul, this battle we're seeing right now, 217, 18 miles an hour average, 222, 223 down the straightaway. On this 1.5-mile track, these guys are just full out right now. 190 laps out of 200 complete. And Sam Hornish can now see the front. He wants to get up to the front and get past Buddy Lazier. He needs a shot at Giafoni.
Clear in touch.
9 to go. And I got to tell you that in the last IRL races, the way it is with 9 to go doesn't have anything the way it is at the finish. Also, Jason Priestley was seriously injured in a practice here this morning for the Infinity Pro Series. Report is that his condition is improving at the Kentucky University Medical Center. Serious but stable.
That's become a 3-car lead pack. Using 5th gears obviously worked for Sam Hornish. We heard earlier on the radio, Sam, go from 6th to 5th. Get those RPMs up, get the speed up. He's now caught up to these two front.
When you pull out of the draft, Sam.
And Andy Brown, the engineer, now that he's in the draft, you'll see more RPMs. And he's telling him maybe use 6 when you pull out of the draft to keep that momentum going to go past these guys.
Got one closing a little bit.
With 7 to go, Scott Goodyear, the former track record holder here. Where do you want to be?
Well, right now, Giafoni's playing the right move. He's on the bottom line, making those guys go around the outside of the turns the long way around. The only thing that's going to come into play is traffic. We have a little bit of it coming up right now, and Giafoni's going to have to time it correctly and make the right decision. Do I go high? Do I go low? If he makes a mistake, it might just open up the door for the guys behind.
And it seems the racing lanes are getting just a little wider as we get closer to the finish, too. Whether or not they're available or people are just getting a little braver or a little more daring. Here comes Hornish on Lazier. Darted out of the draft.
Still inside, still there, still there, still there. Clear.
Close call.
Close call. Slices in there just like he's passing on the highway.
Giafoni, Hornish, Lazier now. Sharp battling with Castroneves. Sits in 4th.
Every one of the Pennzoil team down there standing up on the pit wall. Wait to see where Hornish is every time he comes around.
And Giafoni, the leader, with now 3 to go. I'm not sure that he's going to be denied this, but then again, he's got to hold off the reigning series champion.
Well, 2 things come into factor, Paul. And there's only a couple of laps left to go. Sam Hornish always seems to find a way at the end to find more speed, and they're coming up to some traffic, which might just play a part in this.
Yeah, that is going to be a factor. With 2 to go now. Slower traffic just ahead.
Keep him on the outside.
Spotters will be key in this.
Push, Felipe, push. Let's go, buddy. Hornish still in back.
Now Hornish is going to get the benefit of the draft.
Let's keep going. He's going to look on the outside. He's looking. He's outside. Outside. You're clear. Let's push. Let's go.
White flag is out.
You got back in front. You're clearing back. Keep pushing, buddy. Push, push, push.
How is this traffic going to figure in?
Come on.
Going for turn 3 on the final lap. Hornish is there. Hornish is closing. Giafoni's got one of them.
Go, 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 go.
Coming down to the inside. Felipe Giafoni takes the win.
What
another first-time winner.
9 new winners this year, Paul. Amazing.
Come in, Felipe. Come in.
Well, we said he was due, and he's been paid. So Felipe Giafoni wins it in Kentucky, unofficially, followed by Sam Hornish Jr., Buddy Lazier, Scott Sharp, and Elio Castroneves. And Sam Hornish Jr. will take the points lead with this run.
He's been away from the points lead for quite some time. Remember, when he started in the series, he was leading the series for a year and a half.
There are the points, and they still remain incredibly close. Top 4 are still within 1 race of taking the lead. Any one of the top 4 could take the lead at the next race in St. Louis.
Oh, with only 3 races left to go, you can certainly imagine it's going to be a shootout at the end. A little victory celebration by Felipe Giafoni right now.
He's worked so hard for this moment. They wave him past so that he can enjoy a celebration of victory. And Felipe Giafoni driving for Morris Nunn, and Chief by Peter Parrott has done it, Jack.
Felipe Giafoni, congratulations, your first victory.
I mean, the team did a great job. I really messed up in the first pit stop, and they did a great job, so it's awesome.
Bob?
Wow, an incredible race here once again for the Indy Racing League as Felipe Giafoni becomes the 9th different winner in a row. Coming up next, the Weetabix Women's British Open. Join us on ESPN for our next IRL race, the Gateway Indy 250 from St. Louis on Sunday, August 25th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. That will be noon Pacific. Thanks for joining us here at Kentucky Speedway. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com. Keyword ABC Sports.